is Senator Rose Conway-Walsh, and you have 8 minutes.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you, Minister, for being here. I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry when I saw this motion. And when I heard the line, Fianna Fáil believes that the best option is for people to be kept in their own homes, how I longed to hear that sentence in 2008, 2009, 2010 and 2011, when we led campaigns to try and stop them socially and economically from ruining the system that was in place for home help. So my question today is to Fianna Fáil is, are you going to apologise for the savage cuts to home help, to community hospitals, to community nursing homes and to primary care? Because that's exactly what you did. And I would really appreciate it if someone from Fianna Fáil could stand up and say that I'm wrong. Because I know between the 31st of August 2009 and the 31st of August 2010, in Mayo alone, Fianna Fáil cut 32,000 hours of home help from the most severely disadvantaged, vulnerable people across the county. That's not me saying it, it's an absolute fact. They privatised the home help system. They sacked swathes of home help workers and put them into private care, so told them that they could no longer work under the HSE. They told elderly people that they weren't even worth 1 hour of home help. No, it had to be 30 minutes, it had to be 45 minutes, it could not be the hour. And I don't have dementia. So I remember trying to fight for the 99-year-old man in Westport who had 2 hours a day of home help. Said, no, you can't have 2 hours. No, you couldn't possibly have an hour in the morning and you couldn't have an hour in the afternoon. That couldn't be possible under Fianna Fáil. It just could not be done. And they're the kind of fights that I had to do for people in the community. And that's why I longed for the line that they believed that the best options for people were to be kept in their own homes. So it's hugely difficult, and I hope you can understand, it's hugely difficult for me to stand here today and say and think that Fianna Fáil are going to be the saviour of home help, community care and all of that. I just don't buy it. The other thing they actually made family carers weigh out the nappies, the soiled nappies of the people they were caring for, because they thought they were using up too much nappies and they could save some costs by that. That is what Fianna Fáil did. Again, it's not me making it up, it's very well documented. So this is why I can't sit and listen to this. The closure of beds in the community. In my own community in Belmullet, the 40 beds in the hospital, despite huge community action group effort, they insisted on closing those beds down. They would not lift the moratorium they imposed to put some nurses and put some staff in those beds. And that is why the people now don't have the respite care that they need. That is why they can't keep their elderly people in their own homes, because then they cannot even get the week or the 2 weeks of the year because the beds are no longer there. So it's an ethical decision. It's a decision that was made by Fianna Fáil and carried on by Fine Gael, because unfortunately they didn't do it to the extent that Fianna Fáil did it, but I know in Mayo again alone it was something like 9,000 and something hours further cuts that were done in the home help hours to complement the 32,000 hours from Fianna Fáil. They would not listen to the communities, would not listen to the carers or anybody else. Again, in the primary care, and again, primary care is connected. They set up the models of primary care in 2001, the pilot projects across the country, 10 of them. They wouldn't resource them. They wouldn't put in the resources so that they could do what they were intended to do on the tin. And that is why, right as I speak, we have elderly people in the beds that they can get even in the hospital, in the nursing home even beside me, who are crippled because they haven't got a physiotherapy to be able to give them the treatment they need. They are physically crippled. They cannot go out into their own homes because they don't have that physiotherapy there. They cannot have it in the hospitals. It is inhumane what has been done, but it was started by Fianna Fáil and continued by them up until this government. So I can only draw the conclusion that Fianna Fáil suffer from selective amnesia. I won't say dementia and I won't say Alzheimer's, but around this issue. Are we now to believe that they have had a conversion on the road to Damascus? I just want to ask them why. Why? I just want an explanation on behalf of the people that they treated in this way. And I do think that they owe them an apology. Do Fianna Fáil now admit that they were wrong? Do they now admit that the Fianna Fáil policy on home care, primary care, on the closure of district and community hospitals and the privatisation of nursing homes was wrong? Naturally, Sinn Féin will support this motion, but we are certainly not fooled by the disingenuous attempts of Fianna Fáil to cod the people into thinking that they wouldn't implement the savage cuts were they to get the opportunity again. These savage cuts that they inflicted on the most vulnerable people in our society who are dependent on this home care. And the way they persecuted carers through cut after cut after cut, the most neglected group in our society, carers, and I want to commend the job that's done by carers in our society because it's holding up the whole of our society, the 24-hour care that they provide. I also want to commend the action groups, the dementia action groups and the other action groups and the home helps who fight for care for these people. It must be hugely difficult for these people to work inside that system, and I know many people who actually had to leave because they couldn't bear it. They couldn't bear to see the suffering in the communities and not have the resources and be in a position to do something about it. So, Minister, you and your government are now responsible for providing adequate resources to ensure the immediate implementation of the National Dementia Strategy. I would ask you to do that as a matter of urgency. I would ask you to reverse the cuts that were done by Fianna Fáil, but I would ask you to do it as quickly as you possibly can, because we are talking about a very vulnerable group of people, and we're talking about people who are in the late stages of their life. So there may not be a chance, or in many cases there won't be a chance of a long-term strategy on this. The resources immediately have to be put into protecting our most vulnerable society. What it says about us as a country, what it says about us as a republic, there is no point in us going out and spending loads of money on commemorations and everything else if we don't look after the most vulnerable in our society. I know the people who are presenting this bill tonight, and it's certainly not personable to them, but I have to bring my own experiences to this House, and we need to learn from them, and we need to bring this forward. But unless people admit that they made major policy mistakes in the past, we are not going to correct it. Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks very much, Senator Conway.